I just can't do it.
Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about blood flow restriction. And we have Michelle behind me that's going to help us with demonstrating. Tom is the other physical therapist that's going to be putting the blood flow cuffs onto Michelle. And blood flow restriction is something that was originally thought about by Dr. Sato in 1966, but it wasn't actually brought upon until really accepted until 1997. And so this has been a long time coming, and really a newer treatment that is being used here in our area. So one of the benefits that has really been seen with blood flow restriction is that we can take on strengthening activities with a much lighter load onto our tissues. And so this might be used after surgery, maybe after an injury, could even be a minor injury, to just supplement in between some harder days with training. Could be used even when you're in more of a rest cycle, if you are in a training program and training for a meet or a race, and have that relative rest phase. The blood flow restriction can be very beneficial. So if you think about, arterial blood goes from our heart into our tissues, and venous blood from our tissues deoxygenated back up to the heart. And so when we are able to use that cuff to put a very specific amount of pressure onto that limb, then we are reducing that venous return. So the tissue is still getting blood flow, but then without that venous return, we end up getting that swelling, kind of that full feeling. And so you'll see the tissue will actually get a little bit more red and pink. And so with that phase of that deoxygenated tissue, blood ends up pooling in that area. And so then that can create that metabolic stress. And with that metabolic stress then allows us to strengthen that tissue in a much lighter load. And so what Tom is going to do with Michelle next is actually show, as she moves through doing a few different exercises, we can actually get to a fatigable level much quicker. We do, protocol-wise, we do try to stay in a higher repetition of 3 sets of 15, or going from 20, 15, 10, but with a lesser load onto the tissue to be able to get to that fatigue. With that fatigue level, we can also see that those slow twitch muscle fibers are going to fatigue a lot faster, which normally you may end up having to put a heavier load onto your body to get to that fatigue point. But then we can get to those fast twitch muscle fibers. And so we're going to have a much better way of retraining that tissue. Okay. So Tom is using the Doppler to be able to identify where Michelle's pulse is at. And then as he is actually going to move the pressure of the cuff up with the upper body, we're working around a 30% of that pressure that it takes to occlude. And then for the lower extremity, it's going to be more around 50%.
All right, so feeling pretty tight there, Michelle?
Yes.
All right. So, like Terry was saying, for the lower extremities, we don't want to get more than an 80%, 70-80% occlusion of the limb. So, like she was just telling you all, we use a little ultrasound Doppler machine to find her pulse, the dorsal pedal pulse, which is in the foot, and then her radial pulse coming off the brachial for the upper extremity. So pump it up, basically like a blood pressure cuff, until we hear the sound go away, and then we go to a certain percentage of that, like Terry was saying, 30% kind of start point for the arm, 50%, no higher than 80 for the leg. So we got Michelle all pumped up while Terry was explaining all that to you, and now we're going to run over a few different exercises and kind of show you how all this works. So Michelle, we can get you turning so you're sitting on the side there. Yep, and we're going to start off with a really good quadricep exercise. You know, it can be seemingly a little bit low level. We do this one a lot of times with our people right after operations, you know, meniscus, total knee replacement, different things like that. But it's a really good one to wake up the quad, and Michelle's going to see how difficult this actually is with no weight on her ankle. Yep, so she's going to extend that knee as straight as she can get it, and she's going to hold that a second or two and come back down nice and controlled. I just want you to do about a set of 10 of those for us, Michelle. Can you already feel that that's a little bit more difficult compared to just the other leg?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you may be able to see the difference in the color of Michelle's legs too. There's quite a bit of that pink purple kind of discoloration as we've occluded that limb, and it's kind of that cellular swelling is happening in those tissues.
And typically with cuff placement, we like to get it as higher, you know, proximally up the leg as we can. With the shorts that Michelle's wearing, when I started to pump it up, it slipped down just a touch, but you want them a little bit high, you know, comfortably high, to occlude it a little bit more proximally. All right, you feeling the burn?
Uh-huh.
All right. All right, the next one we're going to try is just a simple body weight squat, so we can get you standing up from there, Michelle. Let's get those feet spaced out about shoulder width apart. And then it's going to be like you're sitting back in a chair. So try not to flex through the lower back. Try and stay nice and straight there, and just kind of like you're sitting back. Depth of about 90, please, and then coming right back up. Another really good functional exercise, kind of highlighting that with the use of these cuffs and this technology, you don't need to do this at a very high load. Body weight exercises are actually what's recommended for this.
How you feeling in those thigh muscles, Michelle?
I definitely feel it more.
Awesome.
All right, and then just to highlight some of the arm activities too we can do, we're going to have Michelle go right up into just your normal kind of bicep curl. We're going to do it in more of the pronated position, or supinated position, excuse me. So you're going to just do a regular curl there, Michelle. And we could add in lightweight, a couple pounds, 1 to 3 pounds, you know, with this exercise, but just for demonstration here, we're going to have her do it with no weight. And as Terry was saying about the legs, you can see too, there's almost a little skin kind of color discoloration between her arms there. You can see it's a little bit more red, purple on that cuff side.
Are out typically at around a 15-minute duration of using the cuffs during our rehab protocols, and then monitoring the skin and monitoring the symptoms, and then progressing throughout an actual routine. So we may see somebody for 45 minutes and have the cuffs on for a majority of their treatment time. So the cuffs can be used during other weight-bearing exercises like planks and more dynamic tasks and single leg leg swings and even some bar activities. So again, why would we use this? One, after an injury, maybe surgery, maybe just a weekend warrior type of activity or a tendonitis, but also can be used to supplement a workout routine to be able to lessen that load onto those joints and those tissues. So be sure and let us know if you have any questions on blood flow restriction. It is a valuable tool that has come in handy in our rehab protocols, and can definitely see the value in just our those who enjoy that good strengthening routine and gaining a little bit more power, but having that less load on their tissues. So thanks for having us today.